All right, guys, we're in Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19. I don't know if there's clinics in this room, but there should be clinics in this room right now. Some of us are going to need it in the next few minutes. Preaching a sermon this morning with the wonderful title of Marriage, Divorce, and Singleness. So wherever you are, you're covered. I've been walking through Matthew chapter 18 and 19. People are asking Jesus questions. People are going to Jesus saying, Jesus, I have a question. First guy, Peter, asks a question. Is Jesus, who is the greatest? Is it the most money, the most power, the most influence? Who is the greatest? And Jesus says, listen, man, it ain't money. It ain't thinking bench press power. The greatest in God's sight, in God's family, are the servants, are the humble, are those who love the least of these. That's the greatest. If someone asks, well, Jesus, how about this one? They say, who's the greatest? And they say, when can I stop forgiving my brother? When can I say is enough? I don't want to forgive anymore. When is the line for forgiving? And Christ says, listen, we never stop forgiving. We never stop. We learned last week that Tahoes must forgive 10 speeds. But this question is different. Because the first two questions came from people who wanted to learn. This question is not a question at all. This question is a trap. This question is intended to knock Jesus down. We begin in verse 3 of Matthew chapter 19. The Pharisees came up to him and tested him. These guys don't like Jesus. They have become his arch enemy. They literally are dogging him at every turn. And their hate for him, their dislike of him, is not because he's teaching heresy. They don't like him because the people love him. There's a jealousy in them. They say, man, everyone loves this Jesus guy. They used to love us. Let's get rid of Jesus. They come to test him. They ask, is it lawful to divorce one's wife for any cause? Is it lawful to divorce one's wife for any reason? Now this question's weird, right? There's a lot of weird words in this question. Is it lawful? They're not referring to legal, because it is legal in Rome to divorce. Like the King Herod, the guy over the region, he divorced his wife and married his sister's wife, or his brother's wife. His sister's wife, yeah, that's the whole thing. Married his brother's wife. And John the Baptist said, and that ain't right, and Herod killed him for it. Like, took his head off his shoulders for saying, that's wrong, man. It's just your brother's wife, yo. Killed him dead for it. Divorce is part of this world, okay? It is, in Rome, it is legal to get divorced. It's not about civil law. They're asking, according to Moses, according to the law of God, is God cool with divorcing your wife for any reason? Now that last part's weird too, for any reason. Well, first it said divorce one's wife. Why don't they say spouse? I'll tell you why. It's a man's world back then. Women couldn't get divorced. Only men could divorce their wives. Back in the day, women couldn't own property. They couldn't have jobs. Women didn't go to school a lot, didn't know how to read. So men could leave their women, but women had to stay with their junk men. That's the way it was back then. So the Jewish leaders argued about divorce, but women, if a woman got divorced in that culture, they were pariah. So Jesus, is it cool with God if we Jewish leaders divorce our wives for any reason? And here's the point of the question. You know how like in Christianity, there's denominations, there's like more than one of us, there's like Baptists and Catholics, there's different crews, right? Among the Jews, there are different crews. That rhymes. There are different groups, different groups in Judaism, okay? And there's a conservative group and a liberal group. And they basically read the Old Testament, the law of God, where Moses said divorce was allowed in matters of indecency. And they said, well, what does that mean? And the conservative crew said, well, indecency must be something really bad. I mean, adultery or like a sexual thing, that allows divorce. But the liberal guys, they said, listen, indecency can be anything. If she burned your toast, she's out. And that's not an exaggeration. The rabbis would write and say things like, if your wife can't cook and please you, find a new wife. They said stuff like that all the time. So you had one group of Jews who said, it's got to be a real thing to get divorced. Another group that said, divorce for any reason you want. There's a debate raging in the Jewish faith, and they go to Christ and say, pick a side. It's a trap because whatever side he chooses, he loses. Because there's this cultural argument. We go through this all the time, don't we? Facebook, something happens, everyone picks a side, and if you say something, half your friends are going to hate you. Well, unless you have like one kind of friend, and they're all on your team. You're the best. No, but if you have a variety of friends, whatever you say about an issue is going to pigeonhole you straight up. Their goal is to trap Jesus. If Jesus says, go and get divorced for any reason, well, then the conservative Jews will say, this guy's not really a moral man. But if Jesus says, she should get divorced for divorce should only be for adultery, then they can say, King Herod, he doesn't like you or your wife, you should kill this guy too. They're hoping whatever he says, they can get out. That's the question they ask him. It's a question we're talking about today. Before I say anything else, let me say this. There are certain words that when you hear them in church, there's fear that fast. And divorce is one of them. I'll just say this. I grew up in Flint. This is home for me. There's no one in my family, aunts, uncles, my mom, that have been divorced and remarried multiple times. I got half siblings, step siblings. I got siblings that were siblings, not siblings anymore. You know how that goes? Like there's step brothers, and they leave, and you're still my step brother. We're not step brother. Like I have my family tree is like a family bush. It's just like it's crazy. I try to explain to my daughter, and I'm like, I don't know. That could be my brother or my cousin. And that's not because of bad things. It's because it's that whack. It's just crazy. I said to say, listen, I live in the real world too, okay? I am not unstained by the world we live in. But what does God say? They ask him, can you leave your wife for any reason, dude? Can you bail? And he answered, verse 4. Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female? And he said, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife. The two shall become one flesh. He quotes Genesis. He goes, you Pharisees, look at Moses' law. When God made the whole world, when God breathed air into Adam and Eve, he created marriage. Marriage is not a creation of a society. It's not just an American thing or a European thing or a Western thing. Every culture in the face of the human history on the planet, marriage is part of culture. People connecting, making vows for life. That happens. It's been happening everywhere in every culture. God created this thing. He goes, listen, man, you read. And back, and this is how it goes. A man leaves his father and mother. So kids grow up. Kids grow up. They go through puberty. They become like adults. When they come home, say, Father, Mother, I have met someone. I'm going to marry them. And they don't move into your basement, do they? Well, usually not. Sometimes they do. But the goal, the hope, They get a job, a career, they get married, make a new family, and start their own thing. And you to watch this child that I invested and loved in, the child has started their own family. That's awesome. The child leaves mother and father, cleaves to his wife, and the two become one flesh. And Christ says, so they are no longer two, but one flesh. This is probably the biggest picture of marriage in the Bible. Two become one. That's some crazy math. Two people become one brand new person. In God's eyes, two people make this promise, and they're together. They have one life now. They have one set of money, one set of dreams, one house, one bed, one name. Just become one family. Two people become one person. It's a crazy thing. And Jesus ends by saying, what therefore God has joined together, let not man separate. There's Jesus. Is it okay to divorce one's wife for any reason? And his answer is, listen, marriage is two people becoming one. This is a big deal. The day I got married, I was 22 years old. Got married in my wife's front yard of her home. Big old tree farm. We had transformed this property into a beautiful marriage chapel. We leveled the ground, built a gazebo. My best friends, my brothers, all came and were there for the wedding. Woke up that morning, big day. Outdoor weddings were scary, but the sun was shining. Rock and roll. I wake up before everybody else. I go sit out on the porch overlooking the cornfield. I thought about what was happening this day. In a few hours ago, I was going to walk to a gazebo. Angie was going to walk to me. Her father would give her hand into mine. I would be asked a question. Will I love her? Come back to his part. I sat there on that deck, horrified. It's a big deal. I felt the weight of the promise. I'm like, if she's white girl crazy, I'm in real trouble. It happens. But I'm like, what if I marry her and she doesn't like me? What if I marry her and she... What if this is hard? What if... And all the what ifs. What if I meet someone who's more funny in 5 years? What if? Just hypothetical. And I sat there and I felt the weight of the promise, the weight of the decision. And the question I asked, am I willing to say amen? I sat there praying, and finally I'm like, I'm in. I walked, and she came, I cried. I said the words, I do. Now, this is God's intention. When He made the world, He wanted marriage to be a forever covenant between people. That's how He built this thing. That is His ideal reality. So if you're here and you're single, and you long for someone to love, you want a husband or a wife, here's a tip. If they're awful, don't marry them. Be careful who you choose to love, because it is a choice. There's a girl I cared about in college. I thought, this is the one. And a friend said, Ernesto, if you marry this girl, you'll be sad your entire life. She's the saddest person I've ever met. And I'm like, whatever, dude. And I thought about it. I'm like, you ain't wrong. So even though there was affection, I walked away. If you're here, listen, The Bible says marriage can be heaven or it can be hell. Don't choose hell. The Bible says it is better to dwell on the corner of a rooftop than to live in a house with a contentious woman. Or like Buddy McMullins once said, it's okay to be lonely as long as you're free. It's better to be lonely than to marry the wrong person because you're in a rush and you're scared of dying alone. You don't want to marry someone who's going to treat you terrible, who's going to rob you of your life. Be patient and wait. I graduated college unmarried. Like in college, when you're young, everyone's getting married around you in college, and you're like, it's not happening. If I leave college, the girls will all be gone. What will I do? And I was really scared. If I leave college single, I'm dead. And I did crazily. I met Angie. I was lost in the woods in the middle of the night, and I knocked on her door. My God, God's cool, man. He took care of it. Marriage was meant by God. The picture is beautiful, isn't it? But it also is painful, because so many of us, that's not our experience. There's a movie came out called Up. You guys see the movie Up, the cartoon, old guy in the balloons? My wife and I were in India, living in India, came home on furlough, came home to reset our visa. We landed in America, everyone says, you gotta see Up. And I'm like, the trailer looked terrible. I don't want to see an old man in balloons. We go to see the movie. People said, bring a Kleenex. I'm like, whatever, it looks stupid. We go see it. And the first 10 minutes of that movie I was sobbing like a child. It was that ugly, like, breathing, I'm trying to restrain myself to not ruin the movie for my neighbors. That movie shows two little kids meet, and they fall in love, and you watch them grow, and you watch them get married, and you watch them have children, and they can't have children, and you watch their simple life, their simple story, their small story, and you cry because it's what we all want. Right? That's what we want deep down. I want someone who's still there when I'm old and moldy. I want that person. I'm thinking about something about you guys. That's the picture God paints of marriage. Some of us are like, it's right. Some of us are like, but what? Marriage, two people becoming one. That's what it is. The Pharisees say, listen, Jesus, verse 7, they said to him, why then did Moses command one to give a certificate of divorce and to send her away? They got him. Jesus, listen, if marriage is forever, then why did Moses command divorce? They're like, check and mate, Jesus, we got you. We'll make you look dumb in front of all the crowds. It's a good question, because in the Bible, divorce is allowed. In God's law, there is a provision for divorce. God says, Jesus says, what God has joined together, let not man separate. Why did Moses give us an out then? If he says forever, why does Moses say you have an out? He said to them, because of your hardness of heart, Moses allowed you to divorce your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so. Listen, they said, why did Moses command divorce? He goes, whoa. Moses didn't command divorce. He allowed divorce. And why? Because of the hardness of our hearts, because of the sin of the world, because of the sin of us. Here's the truth. We can love someone and be committed to them, and they can betray us, they can leave us. The world is so broken, and we are so broken. We can break the good things, can't we? The good things break. Jesus said, listen, this is God's intention. But because we are all sinful, there's a provision in case your marriage explodes. In case sin grabs a hold of your home and burns it down, there is an out. But it's not a command, it's an allowance. Meaning what? Jesus gives one of the reasons. He goes, listen, man. I say to you, verse 9, whoever divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another commits adultery. Basically, he says, listen. He basically repeats Deuteronomy 24. He enforces the Mosaic law. He says, listen, Moses was right. If there's an affair, you're allowed to leave. Now, I'll say a few things right now. This is not the only cause for divorce. Christ is simply affirming what Moses said. Later, there are other reasons why God allows divorce. There's other brokenness besides adultery. But adultery is the main one because adultery kind of strikes the core of what a marriage is. A marriage is one flesh, right? I'm joined to this woman, I'm joined to this man. We are one flesh together. And if someone leaves the marriage bed, it breaks the trust that we have together. And if you need to, you can leave. It's an allowance, not a command. Let me tell you a story of how this works. I knew a man, a good man, a godly man. And he was associate pastor of a church in England. And his pastor, his boss, he always admired his pastor, admired his boss, and he admired his boss's wife. She was a godly pastor's wife. She was gifted. She was just incredible helpmeet. As time went on in their ministry together, one day in church he's sitting there and they're doing the service stuff, and he realizes, I care for this woman. When she comes over, I get excited. When she's near, I feel electricity in my blood. And he walks out to get himself clear-minded. He's like, what happened? How did this happen to me? How did I get these emotional feelings for a woman who's not my wife? And he's walking around outside thinking. He turns around, and there is the other wife. There is his boss's wife who followed him out. He's like, it's England, it's open grass. Everyone's in the church. And she comes up to him, she goes, hey. He's like, hey. And she walks up, puts her hand on his chest. And she said, I know you feel it too. Let's just go. He told us young men that day. He said, the devil will not come for you from the front door. If I'm driving on Dorp Highway, those billboards don't have any power over me. I'm not tempted to go in those places. But emotionally, even good people can be grabbed from behind, can't they? Maybe things at home are hard. There's real tension. There's real trouble. An old boyfriend, an old girlfriend, you find out on Facebook, they're talking again. They laugh at all your jokes. They say, well, if you were my girl, I would do, if you were my man. And you're like, man, they treat me better. He's like, thinking thoughts you never thought you would think. So she's right there. Hand on his chest, offering him everything he thought he wanted. And he takes her hand, puts it off him. He goes, I'm not going to betray my wife or my friend or the God who saved me. He walked away. That night he's in bed with his wife, and he's still tormented with the thought. He's out of bed, walks downstairs. His wife wakes up and comes down. She's like, honey, what's the matter? And he tells her. He's like, babe, I care for another woman. He said, I love another woman. What would you do? If your friend called you and told you that story, ladies, what would you tell your friend to do? Did you hit him? You throw his crap on the sidewalk? Did you take a knife to his leather seats of his truck? That's Flint Town, right?
Are you sorry?
In my life, I've seen some crazy stuff in my life. Man, we're ghetto. Okay. This woman, no joke. I know this man. I know his wife. They told us this story. All those young pastors were training. He told his wife, I'm in love with another woman. And he's broken. She can see he's just wrecked with guilt. And she sits down, puts her hand on his knee, and she says, how can I help you? She was not commanded to leave. She could have said, you have crossed the line, I am out. Because of her love for Jesus and her love for her husband, she was with him, and they made it through that hard time. And I know that when they're old, they were old men and old women. And that older couple at my college, that older couple counseled hundreds of kids and helped us make it. Their ministry was powerful. He resisted temptation. She forgave him his stupidity, and their ministry was profound in the world. I said to say this. Divorce is allowed. In some instances, divorce is allowed. But God hates it. The question is not, when can I leave? I know pastors, I know Christians, and this is awful to say loud. I know Christians who hate their marriages. And they want an out. They say, I can't leave unless she has an affair. So what will I do? I'll just not talk to her and drag my feet and be the worst husband ever. And when she leaves me, I'm clear. That's not the spirit of the law. That's him literally trying to find a loophole to get out. That's not all right. I know, and the first question when we say divorce, our first question, every one of us, our question is my divorce okay with God? Before that question, there's another question though. There's an observation. Whenever there's divorce, it's a sad story. God can redeem. God can bring new love. We can have life after. But listen, if there's divorce, it ain't easy. I see some people doing divorce parties on Facebook, drinking their hand. Oh, yeah. No! A sad story just happened somewhere. There's sadness in the world. Whatever happens next, it's not going to be easy. When I do counseling for blended families, listen, those are hard things. Co-parenting is not easy. It's tough. Divorce is, listen, my mom had to leave some awful men in my life. It was still hard. There were terrible men that hurt my family, and I still wanted to be my dad. It's all messed up. It is allowed. That's what I'm telling you is this. If you're here and you're married, and your marriage is hurting, and the love for your spouse is growing cold, and you're beginning to wonder, should I just eject your seat out of this thing? Don't do it, man. You go home and here's a tip. Fellas, your wives want face-to-face time. Put the stinking smartphone away. Put your hobby down for a second. I knew a guy once with his wife and kids over a hot rod in the garage. Came home every day, with the hot rod every day, kids and wife, maybe later. But the hobby was his love. Put the hobby down. Your wife needs some face-to-face time. Here's the reality of things. Here it is. The kids are going to leave someday. You're not married to your kids. They're going to leave you. They're going to abandon you. You're going to home somewhere, dude. Straight up. Dad's crazy. I got $14. He's going to a home in Flint. And they don't change his diaper. It's going to suck. Listen, I'm not married to my kids. I'm married to my wife. You got to kiss those lips and seek that heart and keep that thing fire burning. There's a reason so many empty nest marriages end because they're like it's all the kids. Kids go to college. I don't even know you anymore. gotta keep that thing alive. Fellas, your wife needs face-to-face time. When we go on dates, once every 6 weeks. It's hard. I know babysitters are hard to find. Money's hard to make. We go out once every 6 weeks. When we go out and sit down for dinner, I give her my cell phone. Face-to-face time, no distractions. Baby, you have my whole attention. And ladies, for your husbands, men like shoulder-to-shoulder time. Men really like do the dumb things they like with them. It's weird how guys are. My wife sat on the couch and watched me beat Mario Brothers, and I'm like, watch this, babe, ba-blam, and I'm tearing up. She doesn't give a rip about Mario or Bowser or any of those guys. But I value sharing this thing I like with you. Guys, that's why guys watch football with their friends and not know I don't know your name, but watch football together. My man, we're pounding, it's crazy. Guys value shoulder-to-shoulder time. Ladies, maybe once in a while, sit down with your husband, get involved in his hobby with him, just so he knows you give a rip about his life and what he cares about. My point is, if your marriage is struggling right now, don't just give up and eject your seat out. Fight for your marriage. Fight for it. If it ain't over, man. If there's hope, you fight for it. So divorce is allowed. And listen, let me say this. If you're divorced, you're not a second-class citizen. We don't hate you. People get divorced and often leave the church forever because they're afraid of being judged by the perfect people in the house. There ain't no perfect people in this house. Listen, sin blows us up in all different ways. Whether with our kids or marriages, listen, it's hard. I'm trying to tell you the best way, just trying to warn you. But if you have a past that is hard, we don't think you're awful because of it. God can, listen, we're not against step parenting. Joseph was one of the greatest step parents in the Bible. Joseph raised Jesus as his own son. Straight up. Divorce is allowed, but it's not a beautiful thing. In our culture, divorce is seen as liberation. It's not liberation, it's a death. We had someone in our family divorce and leave. My daughter asked me, where's Uncle so-and-so? I'm like, well, he didn't want to be in our family anymore. What do you mean? Well, he left. Well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I try to explain it. Well, what about, she's like, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And she's like 4 years old asking these questions. Trying to answer the questions she had. Finally, she's thinking out. She goes, is he dead? And I was sad because in her mind, divorce was death. It is a death. It's at the end, but it's an ending of something, isn't it? He allows it because the hardest of our hearts. He allows it because the world is broken. So divorce is allowed, but it's never beautiful. And then you have this hilarious in the end. Not hilarious, I apologize. Verse 10. The disciples said to him, listen, the Pharisees bailed. Because the Pharisees have been remarried so many times, he nailed them to the wall and they ran away. So it's just Jesus and his boys, and they're like, dude, if such is the case of a man with his wife, it is better not to marry. They say basically, man, if I can't leave her, I don't want to marry her. If I can't jump off the window, I don't want to buy the house. Which is a really bad way to view reality. And in our world, people do say this. Well, God, that's God's view of marriage. I don't get married. I don't want a forever promise. I don't want to live the same person my whole life. It's better to be single, they say. Listen. Being single can be awesome for Jesus. It can be awesome. Listen to what he says. This is a weird thing he says. Okay, I'll just read what he says. He says to them, listen. Not everyone can receive this saying. Not everyone can be single, but only to those to whom it is given. For there are eunuchs who have been sold from birth. There are eunuchs from birth. What he's saying is, listen, some people, when they're born, maybe they're asexual. Maybe they're born without a drive and without testosterone in their blood. Some people are born with no desire for the other gender. That happens. Some people are single, they're born with no desire to get married ever. And there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by men. Now, we don't have a lot of that in our world. But back in this time, if you were a king and you had like your manservant, you want your manservant acting on your wife. So what you would do is you castrate him. And now he's still a man, he's got muscle and strong, but now he can't really see your wife or your daughter because he ain't got nothing. So some people are made eunuchs. You know what's crazy? This still happens in the world. There are religious extremists in the world. And they will mutilate a woman's genitalia so she cannot ever know pleasure. It happens. You go to the Middle East or in Africa, that happens out there. And it's heinous. They're made single forever by the hands of sinful men. Then he says, and there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. This is the one we got to talk about here. What if you're single right now? Jesus says some people are single for the kingdom of heaven. My wife, her great aunt Esther, never got married. She was a missionary to where, babe?
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone, which is in what continent?
West Africa.
West Africa. And they get married, went to West Africa, and she, for the glory of Jesus, she gave her life serving the least of these. To me, that sounds really hard, but she loved her life, and she served God well. Some people feel, my wife wanted to be single her whole life. She's like, I'm done looking for men. God, I need to get drunk. She's like, God, if you want me to get married, you got to bring this guy to my front door. She committed herself to be single for the glory. She was serving God. Hey, listen. My point is this. If you are single, instead of using this season of singleness and just being angry at God and saying, where is my one? Where is my love? Use this season to be a blessing, to serve others for the sake of the kingdom of God. Listen, they're not here when I'm going to say this. It's weird. But both my brothers are single. And my brother's like 30-something, 30-something. And first of all, they're the greatest uncles in the world. But not only to my kids, they're uncles to a lot of kids in this church. They have a little more freedom. So they just love people's kids, and they can go help someone move on us, just because they have, at this moment in their life, maybe less familiar with abilities, they can serve others in powerful, meaningful ways. If you're single, use this season to bless and love and serve others. I'm not saying you pray for the one, pray for a husband or wife, pray, ask God. The guy wants somebody. Ask God. That's great, but I'm saying, wow, instead of pining and being depressed, use this season for God's kingdom. And I will say one thing. The culture we live in is very much against the heart of God. If you're single, don't go out there and play the field. That's not good for your soul. That's not real love. Do it God's way. If you want God's product, do it God's way. And God's way is a man and a woman wait until they're married and they come together in a physical union. And you might say to yourself, no one does that anymore, dude. That's old school Amish talk. Listen, I waited for my wife and she waited for me. You can say, even if you've been crazy. I was at a restaurant and we're eating. I'm talking to a guy, a buddy of mine who's single, and he longs for love. I told her, listen, you're honoring God. I said, and I forgive the language. I said, dude, just don't be a man whore, okay? That was good advice. And a table full of women behind us just goes, ain't nothing wrong with no man whore. And it was loud, and they're laughing and catcalling. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Like, it was so awkward. But my point is saying, the world we live in now, like, Ira will tell me things like, I'll meet a guy on a dating app, I'll go home with him, and then decide if I like him or not. That's the world, but that's not the way the people of God should be. The world is insane. They're alone, they're unhappy. We shouldn't take their advice. If you're single, do it God's way. You wait. And when God gives you that special someone, when God blesses you, then you make the covenant, you have the honeymoon, and you love the life. Marriage, divorce, singleness. Now, I have no doubt there are 100 questions. If you have thoughts, what about this, and what about that, and what about this? You can email or text me all this week. And I'll answer all the questions you have. I'll probably do a special radio show just answering all the questions from this message. Okay? Email me at ernesto@flintcitychurch.com. You can go on the way out, grab a little business card. My info's on the card. My cell phone's on there, and so is my email. Email, text me, and we'll have... Because listen, I know you're probably wondering, we all have 100 questions. But the basic truths Christ gives us are this. Marriage is two becoming one. Divorce is allowed, but it's never beautiful. And singleness, it's an option. It's a tough one, though. Like, I never considered being single forever. I never did. I thought about it. Should I be single for the Lord? And I'm like, no. I like girls a lot. Like, I can't. Like, Angie makes me a better person. If I didn't have her, I'd be the meanest guy you know. I'd be mean, and I'd, like, punch people all the time. So she's good for my soul. She's a sacrament to me, as the word says. So, do not sit here. If you're married, love your spouse and hold on to them. Fight for your relationship. If you're divorced, I would say if you're divorced, honor God in your life right now and do things right from this point forward. If you're single, honor God and do things God's way. That's the teaching for the day. With that said, let's go ahead and pray and be done. Father, this is hard stuff. There are stories in this room that a lot of us have no idea what happened. And we're not here, Lord, you are the judge of heaven and earth. We are not. Lord, for those marriages in this room that are hurting, help them find one another again. Let them be committed one to another. Lord, let there be healing and miraculous love restored. For the divorced in our world, who sometimes wonder who struggle with guilt and shame, have to walk the path of single parent, Lord. Give special mercy and grace to them. Let us as a church be a loving community. All are welcome. For the single, who are praying for someone to walk through this life with, Lord, see and know their heart. And honor you with their lifestyle. I'd ask, Lord, that you would bless our single ones with the love you say is so good. So, Lord, do what you will with this. In Christ's name we ask these things.